All right, let's go. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another live training session. Today, I'm going to talk to you about confidence and the actual four-step process to generating confidence over and over and over again. And we're going to talk about really why is this important? I think some of you might lack confidence in many areas, but some of you might think, who cares? Like, do I really need confidence? But when you think about the obstacles and the failures that get in our way when it comes to relationships, health, wealth, it all comes down to confidence. And if you have that confidence, that ability to push through something and see through and follow through, well, then you're going to do it again and again and again. And I see a lot of guys get stuck in their relationships because they lack the confidence. They lack the capability to actually initiate, actually lead their family, enroll their kids, enroll their wife into maybe a new idea, or we're going to lead the family this way. We're going to start doing things this way. Or I had a guy on the other call who just was like, man, I'm afraid to even like touch my wife because she has said to me, like, I don't love you. I don't want to even be around you. And so you can imagine, he's going to have a lot of fear, a lot of lack of confidence to go and approach his wife and give her a big fat hug or a kiss, because deep down, that's what he wants. But of course, you can imagine he's going to lack confidence to actually go out and do it, right? And many times when we're first starting something, we lack the confidence. So I think it's really, really important to understand this four-step process. And I'm going to go over the 6 different source belief patterns that you inherit from childhood that actually might be stymieing your results and preventing you from even entering this confidence cycle in the first place. And that's why a lot of us don't even start these tasks. Then there's a whole nother reason of actually follow through and finishing. But let's just get into the beginning, why you won't start a task in the first place. And it comes down to confidence, guys. So that's the game plan today. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Joel Evan. I am the founder of First Responder Fathers. I'm committed and on a mission to help men build unshakable marriages and deeper connection with their kids. After someone like myself, a former first responder, 15 years as a police officer, and married for 11 years now with 2 young boys, 10 and 6, I can tell you that for probably 10 of the years, I suffered. My marriage sucked. It was a complete roller coaster. One week it was good. One week it was terrible. And I didn't know what I was doing. And here is someone who I thought was pretty accomplished. My wife is someone who has a major and a master's in child psychology. And here I am, a life coach and best-selling author and all these things. And it didn't really matter. I still couldn't fix this one thing. And so I had to get a lot of help. And through my training of being a life coach and hiring some of the best parenting and dad coaches out there, and attending the seminars and reading the books, I figured it out. And so that's why I'm here today sharing this message with you. If you're interested in just being part of our free community, or you want some of the free resources, I've got a 20-page guide that I've created that really breaks down how I rebuilt my marriage, rebuilt the trust that was needed to succeed. If you want that, just simply drop me a line, say guide, or say, Joel, I want it, and I will send that to you for free, no questions asked. Or if you just want to jump in the free First Responder Facebook community, let me know and I'll get you in there. No questions asked. That's an easy one. All right. Let's get into the cycle of confidence. Now, here it is, guys. Really, when you think about it, the only difference in someone's labeling of an obstacle versus a failure is their childhood belief system, which defines how they perceive outcomes. So in order to understand generating confidence, to move through an obstacle, we have to understand how we perceive adversity, how we orient our lives to move into and through it, and then how we label it on the other end. So confidence, really, when you think about it, it's just a skill that needs to be cultivated and repeated anytime through this 4-step process that I'm going to outline for you here in a little bit. I hear a lot of times that people are like, Joel, you're just so confident. You see so comfortable on when you're doing these presentations. And I'm like, no, it's a skill. It's something I had to generate. And I really believe that you can generate it just like I have if you fail enough times, right? So when you think about it, the only thing that really differentiates a successful person from a failure is the definition that they associate with an obstacle or a challenge, right? We agree? The successful person, though, they are able to generate emotional resilience, right? And that allows them to push through these obstacles. It allows them to iterate, to overcome over and over again, right? Now, the failure that made the obstacle personal, right? And it maybe even allowed their emotional patterns to make them quit. That happens often. But that's exactly what we're targeting today. We want to oppose our patterns. We want to create rapid growth from this perceived adversity. We want to turn that adversity into the obstacle is through the way. So we need to learn how to rewire the confidence cycle, right? Now, let's jump into it. I'm going to talk. Here's the 4-step process. So here we go. We're jumping into it right away. Let me share my screen with you. I'm going to share with you something that I learned in a recent training that I paid $5,000 for, and I'm going to share it with you for free here today. And this is just one part of it. Boom. There we go. You guys can see that right there. All right. Now here, check it out. You see, here's the 4 C's to generating confidence. You've got commitment, you've got courage, you've got confidence, you got capability. Now, most of us, when we look at, including myself, I used to think this, when we think about if you have confidence, you have to be competent. You have to be capable, right? So when you become more competent in something, you learn more about something, you generate capacity. And the more capacity you have, then you become confident by being capable of doing it over and over again. That's what I used to think. Not true. When you really break down the confidence cycle in this 4 steps piece, you're going to see the first step of becoming confident in anything is your commitment. You've got to commit. You've actually got to jump off the cliff. Imagine somebody on a parachute that is looking out and they're going to like do a cliff dive, right? They have to commit that they're going to just jump. They're going to do it. You know, they don't have, you don't know, like, is the parachute going to open? Am I sure it's going to, there's obviously some practice, some training you can do before, but at the end of the day, you've got to commit that you're going to go all in. You're going to jump over the cliff. And so if you're trying to change your marriage, you're trying to change your behavior, how you show up in the marriage, you're trying to be a better parent, you're trying to commit to a new health goal, you're trying to lose weight, you've got to commit. You got to go all in first. You got to jump off that cliff. And then the next part of it is the courage part, which I think, again, a lot of us put courage probably way in the front somewhere. You got to have courage first. You got to be courageous that you're going to go into that burning building. No, I've gone into buildings and I committed first. I was like, well, I'm going to do this. The courage just kind of came after. It was like, well, I trust that I'm going to come out alive. I trust that my partner is going to have my back, right? I trust when I lost my job about 2 years ago because I wouldn't get an experimental product. I had to trust and have courage. People say, oh, you're so courageous. I didn't think I was courageous. I just was standing in my truth and my values, which in turn, I guess, is courageous. But people, what they saw was I trusted myself. I trusted that I would prevail. I trusted and aligned with my truth. And I trusted that all things would work out and I was going to survive. So there was trust that the parachute would open, right? That's the courage. That's trusting in the process. Part 3 is now we're starting to develop confidence. Hey, guess what? We didn't die. We didn't die. And so now we're starting to generate confidence. If your woman is being moody and I'm using this example because this is a good example. This is something that I get from a lot of guys and something that I've experienced, right? Like my wife is being moody and I'm shutting down because that's just my normal pattern. Well, I need to commit that I'm going to do something different. I need to commit that I stand for more in this marriage, in this relationship with love, and I want unity. And so I'm committing to that. I'm going to be courageous by doing something that I don't like to do, and that's going towards her. And I tell the story about a guy just grabbing his wife and bringing her in for a big kiss. Then having that confidence, following through, doing it. I didn't die. I'm still here. Even if the outcome wasn't perfect, I didn't die. And this is how we start to rewire that confidence cycle, right? And then the last part is you develop that capacity. You start to enter this confidence cycle over and over again because you actually know you're capable. You can do this. You can follow through. And you're going to do it again. You're going to jump into the fire again and again. And the more you start to do this, now you're going to start to rewire your patterns and how you're showing up with your relationship, with your kids and your business, right? If you're not making the money you want to make, if you're not in the health position that you want to be at a certain level of weight or muscle, it's the same thing. And so this process, this confidence cycle is really, really important. Now, what gets in the way? Well, a lot of things, but here's a couple I want you guys to think about in the confidence cycle. And I think it comes down to these source beliefs, right? These source beliefs, this would be like a 2-hour lecture. And if you guys really want to go dive deep into your brain patterns, you want to learn more about how to rewire your brain patterns, you want to work one-on-one with me, feel free to reach out. But just to give you an idea, right? These source beliefs, they come from really childhood and an environment and some of the genetics that play in a role in that life. And so you see a couple of them is, number one, I think there's 6 big ones. And this is what's going to get in your way from starting to actually start that cycle, right? If you have a source belief pattern that makes you codependent, well, then you might actually struggle in the first place to even commit to the task. Once the task is reluctantly started, well, then you might find yourself becoming overly attached to like every aspect of the task. Then you start to obsess, you start to worry, you start to calculate everything that could go wrong with the task, even if it's like something really, really small, right? And so this can make it challenging for someone like yourself to actually multitask. And that could actually disrupt your ability to even start a task in the first place and enter this confidence cycle because of this codependent. Then you have people that are very detached, right? They have a source belief pattern that created from childhood again that makes them detached. So they might be very quick to start something because they're not attached to like praise or validation. They just go, okay, this is what we're going to do this. Let's do it. But because of this, they have a level of self-reliance and self-trust, which is great, but then they also lack a lot of preparedness, right? So they just jump in quick. They're not thinking about all the problems. They're not thinking ahead, and they run into problems as the project starts, and then they don't finish, right? And then you could have the part three, which is a mix, right? You might have a person who has a little bit of a switch where they might start off codependent. They might be playing it like kind of cautious, and then once they see like they land their job or they have job security, I think is a great example, or they got the work that they needed, then they start to become detached. As soon as they get what they needed, they detach, and now they're playing it really safe, right? And so if you have that pattern, you can see where in the confidence cycle or in your past where maybe you didn't follow through, maybe you didn't start something because you had these limiting source beliefs coming up over and over again. Now let's move into ideation and versus reality. Now this kind of person, they really enjoy just the process, like thinking like what it's going to be. They get lost in the process, and maybe even like just getting lost in their head with the imagination of like what the future will be like. And they don't even actually, but the problem with them is they don't really start anything at all. And so once they actually do start something, it's actually not uncommon for this type to lose interest or just bounce to other things. Like how many of you have like actually started something, right? And then you're like, like that was fun or whatever, but it didn't do what I thought it was going to do. And you just quickly move to something else. So jack of all trades, you do all these things. And we see it in the coaching industry all the time. People just go from certification to certification. They're just trying to get new certifications because they think that's going to be the solution to, rocking their business. And it's just not true. And then you're going to run into these last two, which is the commitment phobic people, right? They just, obviously they struggle with commitment. They struggle with, there's a lot of fear and anxiety when a task is assigned. And so subconsciously, they're already just shutting themselves down. And when they get feedback, right, they probably have these high standards and they perceive themselves to be perfectionists. Like that's me right here. I've always wanted to be perfectionist, but then I'm afraid to fail, right? So I overthink things. I worry. I think about what could go wrong. What if the person doesn't judge me, or what if they don't think highly of me? And then I don't do certain things. I don't follow through because subconsciously I think that I'm not going to be worthy. I'm not going to be received well. So there's that commitment phobic. And then the last one is chaos, which is that's just someone who you can't even generate passion at all. Like the idea to even like follow through, to do something, it doesn't even occur to you. Like you're not even going to do it. There's just no passion at all. So if you're following under any of these 6 source belief patterns, when you're starting to begin a task and aka enter that confidence cycle, if you're following in any of these patterns, which I'm sure if you're alive right now, you have a pulse, there's somewhere you're going to fit into that category for starting a task, not the follow through, just the start. You're going to see that you probably fell into one of those categories. And that's going to limit you. You got to know your brain pattern, because if you don't know how you're showing up and you're not aware, how can you rewire for the long term, and how can you oppose these patterns? And that's the whole problem. We get into these patterns that become habits, they become our paradigm, and then we just live that life over and over again, and we have no idea why. And so that's why hiring coaches, hiring mentors, I've found so much insight. Even my wife said, man, in the last 4 months, like you have just completely changed. I mean, the last year it's been amazing, but in the last 4 months, like you've even dialed it in even more. I'm like, really? Like, how is that? What did I do? And a lot of this is some of the work that I'm sharing with you guys right here today. It's opposing the patterns and really getting, I think, truthful and getting down to the things maybe I didn't even want to admit. So that's how we're doing it. So just kind of a really quick recap for the confidence cycle. There it is again. You got to commit. You got to be courageous. Generate that confidence. Hey, guess what? I did this. I didn't die. And now, guys, you're capable and you're ready to rock. I hope this was helpful. I hope just kind of understanding this confidence cycle made you more aware, because again, I think it's really important. It's a really important piece to rewire, because if you're not following through, where you're not showing up in your health, your wealth, your marriage, your relationships, your family, it probably is tying back to this confidence cycle. There's probably a break in the cycle that for whatever reason you lack starting or you lack finishing. And so when you understand this better, you can start to put the pieces together and start to interrupt the pattern, which is what we all want. Awesome work. Again, if you have other questions, you want to learn more, or you're like, Joel, talk about this topic next week, go ahead and drop me a line, comment on the video, let me know. And so I can actually deliver more value to. That's just how I learn from you guys. I say it all the time. If you're interested in learning more about my men's group and just taking your marriage to the next level, we have a whole bunch of guys in there that are radically shifting their marriages in 1 to 2 weeks. And it's incredible. You're seeing results like guys saying, my wife doesn't love me, my wife wants a divorce, to within 2 weeks, like that's not happening anymore. Now it's like we're getting texts all the time saying, oh my God, where are you? When are you going to come back? So if you're interested in joining that group and learning more about it, I'm happy to send you the details. Just comment below or send me a private message. Have an amazing week, you guys. This is amazing stuff, and it's just so amazing. It's so beautiful to be able to connect with everybody and provide service and watch everyone else grow in the process. Have an amazing week. I love you guys. Thank you. Bye.